Afternoon everyone, this is the first week's update for the Midland Belt Railroad. Progress for this week's been a bit varied and hectic. I've got to get ready for Mansfield show in about a week's time, so I wanted to make sure that the layout is as presentable as possible. As such, as you can probably see here, I've added a fascia to the front of the layout, painted it sort of an odd green colour, but I'm going to try and go for a neutral tone so as not to take away from the layout itself, sort of complementary rather than clashing. I've also added the American flag to the front of it with Velcro this time so that I can remove it easily. As you can see, the Handy Company extension is on its side. I've been working on a little bit of electrics on that. I've also weighted down the back seam to get it to stick properly because it kept peeling up. While I've got it up here, you can see the state of the switch there. I've had to do a fair bit of work to straighten that up and get that working. It's something to do with the way that the caboose ground throws throw. When you flick them, they don't quite go the whole way, which is obviously causing issues with the routing of freight cars. They end up going the wrong way and derailing, but that's been sorted, or is being sorted. I have added some scrap pieces of wood to protect the crossbucks from accidents, not that it's helped with that one over there. And I've also added, upside down I know, but I've also added a signpost or a large billboard that will be getting sort of like a business name on it, sort of like period posters, that sort of thing. Trying to think what else I've done. I have added fascia to the side. That'll be getting painted at some point later this week. That will also allow me to put a detailed interior, like a photo backdrop or whatever, inside the Handy Company building. That should hopefully allow for sort of like an appearance of more depth rather than it just dropping off like that. What else have I been working on? Let's see. A lot of freight cars all piled up there. I was sort of trying to plan a switch list the other day, so I put a few freight cars on there just to see if I could have a play really, but that got sort of curtailed by work that was needed on the three-way switch. For the Billis Brothers paint company, I've added a little pump box and like a pipe for unloading tank cars, so they can unload whatever chemicals it is that they use to create their paints with, and thinners and stuff like that. So if I remove that, you can see the hose is glued down, but the box is on the building itself. Pop that to one side, and you'll see the work that I've done on the three-way switch. The switch was always a problem. I intended to put point motors on it. That's taken up most of my time over the last couple of days. Fitted the Pico point motors, wired it all up exactly as the instructions told me. You flip the switch, motor buzzers, nothing happens. Points don't throw. So they all got ripped out, and I've gone back to manual point control. Bit overkill in this respect. I think the brass rod is a bit ridiculous. I'm going to struggle to disguise that, I think, but the points throw properly. They actually throw properly, which is nice. I worked out the reason why I was having issues with them before is because these switches have a 5mm throw, and the bush is coming up there, glue that back down later. They have a 5mm throw, and the switch blades weren't set up for that, so I've remeasured it all and set it all up. There's a bit of give still on the switch, but it works. I've tested it. This one, however, was a bit of a pain. As you can see, if I push the switch all the way across, it sort of slowly springs back. So what I've done is I've put a screw in there, extended a piece of brass tube on the end of the rod there, and when that's flipped you just push that down below this screw and it keeps it relatively flush. Lift that up, pull it back, and it works fine there. I mean, they look a bit odd in terms of how close the point blades are, but whatever, they work. That's all that matters as far as I'm concerned. So it's locked in place. So the wiring's all done in that regard. The three-way switch works. It is messy. I've made a real pig's ear putting this thing together, but as I said in a previous video, I think when I replaced the sector plate, no proprietary or off-the-shelf switch would fit there, so I had to build my own. Never built a point before. It was somewhat daunting, and the fact that it works as well as it does, I've put down to pure chance and miracles, really. So right, next thing, I stumbled across a model shop, or a model car shop I should say, and they stock quite a lot of Oxford die-cast. So I had pretty much one of each of all of the American vehicles that they've got that suited the era. They're a little early for the era I'm modelling, but they'll fit roughly in, I guess. They're mostly 1960s, late 50s, 1960s cars, with the exception of the VW Beetle van, which I've had for a while, and the 1940s sports car, which will be going in like a auto restoration shop, which will be added onto the next extension to the layout. I've got a nice clever models kit that I really wanted to detail up, so that will go in there, I think. I've also been working on some car cards. There's just a handful, but I've done a car card for every single piece of rolling stock that I own. I'll be doing some waybills to go with them, so hopefully I should be able to do some proper operating at Mansfield. I'm also going to fit holders on the front of the layout, in front of each of the industries, to drop the car cards into. So I'll have sort of like one for the Team Track, one for Handy Company, one for Davis Produce, and then another one down here for Villas Brothers, the refueling station, and the metal stoneworks. There'll be another couple on the Handy Company for the other two industries. I've also fitted my previous exhibition badges for the shows that I've been to before. Those two were for my previous layout, but my wife convinced me that I should put them there because it's just, you know, it's that previous layout doesn't exist anymore, but I still went to the shows, so why not? There's the fitted the NCE, the DCC Concepts, I think it is, slot for the NCE power cab, just drops right in there, should make things easier when I'm working. I also added a little padlock and a gate catch here, which is for simulating operations for the gate for the Wells stonemasons. So the way I'm going to have that set up is that I'll make a sign to go on the gate or next to the gate that says something along the lines of "gate to be kept closed at all times," and then when you're operating, anytime you need to pick up or deliver freight cars to the stonemasons, you'll have to, the operator will have to unlock that, take that off, open the catch, then they can open the gate, move stuff through, put it back again. Similar concept to manual point throws, just sort of makes you a little more involved in the operating sessions, mimicking what a real train crew would do, I guess. So there's that, and then mostly I think it's done. I have a plan for doing a little bit of something special with the Davis Company building there. I think it sort of blends in a little too much with the background flats at the moment. I'm going to make it stand out. Plus, I think that when the layout's all coupled together, this particular section here is kind of open. There's not a lot to it, which I suppose is kind of the point. But I mean, compared to how busy Thorn is, when you've got the Mercantile building there and Singer Auto and the stonemasons and everything, and then with all the buildings on Handico, when that's done, this section here just seemed a little bare, so I'm going to do a bit of something with that, I think. And then after that, it's mostly just rolling stock work, I think. I've got a plan to this. I mean, the Handy Company building here is looking a bit tatty now. I've knocked it a couple of times while I was building, so it's a bit messed up. So what I was going to do is I was to tie it in with the rest of the Handy Company extension. I was going to probably take this off and replace this building here. I mean, it's only cardboard and wood. It served its purpose. I'll take that off and replace it with one of the Clever Models factory kits. It'll probably sit there a little bit better, I think. Do a bit more of something with it. I'm not sure whether I might make the top floors of the building slightly sort of overhang the loading dock, so it's a little more sort of pronounced, so there's like more substance to the building, but I guess we'll see. I've also got to fix this, because again, that's been knocked a fair few times and it's starting to show its age now. It's what, a couple of years old now, so it's starting to fray and such. But I mean, this whole section here, to be honest, could do with being replaced regardless. So I'm going to do that. I've also managed to scuff it with the screwdriver when I was refitting these switches in place. Beyond that, I think it's just sort of detailing parts, really, and then I'll be moving on to the next expansion. But that's it for now. So thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully have something a little more interesting in the next one. Bye.